9:46 in the morning. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Reverend Bill Blair is with us from Grace United Methodist Church. Good to catch up with him again. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Todd.
It's good to have you back with us this morning, talking about a number of issues. One of those is something that I'm sure some people who are on the outside might look at and say, wow, there's something pretty bad going on at Grace. They're voting for separation from UMC. Is it that dire? Tell me the situation, frame it for me if you would.
Well, the Book of Discipline hasn't changed at all, but what's been happening is there's leadership that has just not been held accountable, and so both pastors and bishops, and district superintendents in between, and even some boards of ordination, that while the discipline says one thing, there's violations and they're not holding them accountable. So, a like-minded group decided to start a new denomination, and back in 2019, there was a new paragraph added. It's called paragraph 2553 to our rule book, which we call the discipline. And when they passed that, what happened was it enabled churches that if they disagreed with the direction of what was happening, they could disaffiliate, which was just really huge because this is the first time in all of the time that the United Methodist Church has been the United Methodist Church since 1968 that churches could disaffiliate by using this paragraph, which is the reason why that's so big is because currently in the United Methodist Church, churches do not own their buildings or their funds or the chairs or the desks. Everything belongs to the denomination. We just hold it in trust. It's called the trust clause, which the United Methodist Church has never lost in court. And so, but this paragraph being added to the Book of Discipline made it possible for churches to get out from under that if they pay the disaffiliation costs.
Yeah, okay. Is that cost prohibitive for most churches, or is it something that you can handle?
I don't think that it's relative depending on the size of the church and their budget and such, because it's based on your pension liability, which is based on what we currently pay on our portion share. So basically, we pay 1.4% of everything that's paid to our conference in our portions. And so they take 1.4 times the pension liability, which is the worst case scenario of what could happen to pensions. And then once that's paid, then that relieves us from the pension liability. And then we have to pay 2% of the market value of the buildings. And so that's not too prohibitive. But when you get into the small churches, they pay such a small portion, it's a lot less cost for them.
Yeah. Now, the disaffiliation really became a movement in the last couple of years, hasn't it, all across the platform?
Yeah, it started in 2019 with the passing of the paragraph, and then in May of last year, when the Global Methodist Church announced that they were going to launch a new denomination, that's when everything started rolling fast because paragraph 2553 expires at the end of 2023. On December 31st, 2023, that'll be the end of it, unless something is passed at the next General Conference, which there's no good reason to believe they will because they're seeing so many churches disaffiliate on this step. It's sure not going to get easier.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like it was an intentional window to open up, but they managed to do that.
Yeah. I mean, my theory on it, and I could be wrong on this, but what I believe is that it was passed to allow churches, that had a strong feeling about it to be able to leave more on if they were on the progressive end because they had actually held the line for more traditional understandings. Mm-hmm. And so I think the traditionalists were like, hey, you guys, if you want to go ahead. Just pay your pension liability and you can go. Uh-huh. But then they didn't take it, so then the traditionalists decided, okay, if you guys going to just violate it and stay, then we're leaving. So
now, the process of disaffiliation, does it play out over a series of months or years, or how does it work? Is it immediate?
No. It has to be done this year, so it's not going to be years for sure. Mm-hmm. If church isn't out by December 31st, 2023, they cannot leave. But if they have the work done by then, for us, it's going to be on June 14th it'll happen as, it'll be ratified at annual conference. They're having a special extra half day of annual conference up in Erie on June 14th. And there'll be an official vote on all the churches. And it's going to be a lot of churches. Like just here in our district, we have 100 United Methodist churches. 79 of them are going to be part of this disaffiliation.
Wow.
So it's quite a large movement, especially in Western PA and down through the South and such.
Yeah. Now, for the average person, what are the changes, if any, that they'll see at Grace United Methodist Church?
None, just lower
That's what
portions.
I thought.
Yeah, but some of the things that will happen that are going to be positive. For one thing, there's going to be much lower portions because we will not have district superintendents in the Global Methodist Church. And what that means is we'll have presiding elders who will be serving churches that will oversee the smaller churches around them. So they'll have like 12 to 15 charges that they'll be in charge of. They'll have monthly meetings to try to help the smaller churches get more healthy. Mm-hmm. So right there's a huge savings because you don't have a district superintendent, a house, an office, a secretary, and all that. And so all that goes away. And then so it's a lot less overhead will be involved in this. So that's one part of it. The other part for the local church that's so positive is in the past in the United Methodist Church, pastors were appointed and that was it. Meet your new pastor. Mm-hmm. And there was no selection. You just took the pastor you were sent. Yeah. And in this new alignment, in the Global Methodist Church, churches will be allowed to interview their own candidates as well as candidates that are sent to them. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a lot more selection and to make sure that they are a good match for that congregation. So I think it's going to be a lot healthier in that respect as well.
Yeah. Much less upheaval in the life of the pastors as well.
Yeah. The pastors will not be forced to move. The pastors can stay as long as they want. They can be offered appointments, and if they want to take it, they can. But the congregation or the pastor needs to initiate it. Mm-hmm. But if the pastor and the congregation are both happy, the pastor will stay.
Pastor Bill Blair is our guest with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning, and it is Grace United Methodist Church, the church with which he serves, and it is such a long-standing and very much well-respected congregation there.
Sure is.
And as I was telling you previously, we always make it a point to attend Christmas Eve at Grace United Methodist Church. But you folks seem to have a really firm grasp on how it is that you want to play out your belief. And your faith statement and the way that you pursue it is very, very impressive. And
I appreciate that.
And there's usually some wonderful music. You have a tremendous musical background in that church.
This church is tremendous. I've never seen a church be able to do both traditional and contemporary music so well.
Yeah,
it's positively remarkable.
Yeah,
and I do think like our United Methodist tradition. That the Book of Discipline has always served us so well. Mm-hmm. And when it's upheld, it works extremely well. So, we're going to keep the entire structure of the United Methodist Church. Only it's going to be the Global Methodist Church. Our theology, our doctrines, all going to be the same. It's just a matter of accountability for bishops and pastors and boards.
Yeah. During the Lenten season, of course, it's always a special time at Grace as well. And of course, it culminates with Easter Sunday. And there's usually a cantata of some sort. You're usually involved in the writing of it. And so I'm really curious. What's going to be happening at Grace as we head toward Easter Sunday?
Yeah, well, typically we do either an Easter play or a Pentecost play. So the Pentecost play that I wrote a couple years ago, we're going to use that one this coming year again. Because that's something a story that just isn't told enough.
Yeah.
We make such a huge deal about Christmas and Easter, which we should. But Pentecost is something it's the birthday of the church, the first time that people became Christians. And to me, it just is a huge deal. So we follow the events from Resurrection Sunday through to Pentecost, where Peter speaks, the Holy Spirit is poured out on the people and they speak in tongues. And so we have many people in our congregation that have the ability to speak in foreign languages. So that they speak.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
we put the English up on the screen so people know what they're saying. But it's really a neat experience.
Going to do it right at 9 a.m. Peter said that it was only 9 a.m., right?
No, it'll be in the evening so people can come. But yeah, it's going to be a really good play again. We had a good time with it last time.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
So
All right.
that's coming up May 19th and 20, the week before Pentecost.
Okay. Wonderful. So good things still coming to Grace United Methodist Church. Anything else folks need to know about what's going on through the coming weeks?
Yeah. There's just going to be a huge celebration on the Sunday after we become Global Methodists on June 26th. We're going to have just a big congregational meal and celebration of what's happening and, this fresh new start. Even though we're going to do a lot of the same things, the church really isn't going to change locally. It's just that we'll have a whole lot more freedom to do the things that we want to do. And, our portions are going to be one third of what they currently are.
Yeah.
So that's, instead of 117,000 that we currently pay in the portions, we'll be paying 40, which is going to be
big difference.
Yes.
Big difference. Well, I'm glad that you came in to tell us about it. It is just a wonderful congregation doing wonderful works here in Indiana and beyond, and we appreciate your time this morning.
Well, thank you, Todd. Appreciate the opportunity.
He's Pastor Bill Blair, Grace United Methodist Church. It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Fox News is next, coming at the top of the hour. We followed that with news from our WCCS newsroom, and then it's the Brian Kilmeade Show. Homer Center basketball, 5:30 tonight.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang with the Allied Milk Producers. In these challenging economic times, it's more important than ever to get the most value for your dollar. When it comes to your food budget, very few foods offer more value than dairy products. Ounce for ounce, dollar for dollar, dairy products offer the most nutrition. Make dairy products a part of every meal at your house.
Travel our Milky Way, Allied Milk Producers.
Clear your calendar for Saturday, April 1st and head to the Cavalcha Convention and Athletic Complex for the 44th Annual Pennsylvania